Hey guys, so this is a video for the final project for English 130. I've gotten a couple email questions about this project, the requirements, the expectations. So I wanted to make this video to clarify a little bit about what you need to do for this last project. Essentially, at the point that you're at in the semester, you've done a lot of really strong work. You did 2 full-length research papers, so you should be really proud of that, and you completed a group project from a distance. Honestly, that's really impressive. It's really difficult, and the changes that we've been facing as a class are really unprecedented. I'm sure that you've been having, difficulties, successes navigating the online switches in your other courses as well. So basically, this last project is a requirement decided by the department. So the UND English department, the UND administration requires students in English 130 to do 4 major assignments in order to pass the class. I personally don't want to put another large, research-based, really difficult assignment on you in this last little home stretch here after all these changes, when I'm sure you're anxious to take your other finals and get a little bit of a breather from some of the turmoil of the semester. So I've done what I can to make this assignment a little bit more fun, a little bit more creative, shorter than the other assignments, significantly so. But it's still going to count as a major assignment. So it's not a 20-point assignment. It's not a 50-point assignment. It's a 175-point assignment. It factors into your grade. So it is really important that you do it. The department has this requirement that students cannot pass English 130 unless they do this final assignment. So we have that requirement. You do have to submit something for this final. But as far as the assignment itself goes, you have a lot of freedom with it, and it doesn't need to be something that is going to take up a lot of room on your plate right now. The assignment is called mini-genre assignment. So, as we know, when we hear the word genre, that's referring to the type of form that the project is locating itself in. You can think of different genres of music. You might have jazz, that's one genre of music. You might have hip-hop, that's a different genre of music. So those 2 different genres have different conventions. And, the qualities of the piece of music determine which genre it falls into, right? Is there a beat? Is there rapping? Okay, maybe it's hip-hop. Is there a saxophone? No vocals? Okay, probably jazz or something, right? So when we think about genre, we're just thinking about like form, convention, and switching to them, having some flexibility. So in the group project, you did write a couple different genres. The grant proposal request letter was an entirely new genre, not a research paper genre. The literature review was totally new genre. You might not have to write something like that again for a bit in your academic career. The budget section was a genre on its own too, even though it was mostly a chart. So these are all like little genres, these different like types of projects that you can write in. So for this last project, the mini genre project, basically you're just going to pick a new genre that you haven't written in yet for this class. And this genre can be, it's pretty much up to you. It only needs to be a page to 2 pages long, the genre part itself. So something that I typically recommend is a newspaper article or a magazine article. You can write an advertisement, you can write a press release, you can write a podcast script or radio script, and what you're writing that script or article about is the group project that you just did. So this is not a group assignment, everyone's doing one of their own, but you're using that group material for this individual project. So if you had a group project that was, you were going to do a workshop to educate students about possible dangers of social media use. Alright, so you designed that, that was your group project, you have it submitted. Now, pretend that you're writing a newspaper article about it for a local newspaper describing what your workshop would be like. Or you can do it retroactively and pretend you did it and describe what it was like. If you have an app and you want to advertise it, you could write an advertisement script that would hypothetically be played on radio or television or YouTube, right? Podcast script, you would write a podcast discussion show talking about some of the issues that you explored in your paper. If you were, for example, looking at social media and its impact on communication, then you could write a podcast where you're having a discussion with someone. It could be someone from one of the articles that you read, so you could kind of construct it like an interview. You could also do that for a magazine or newspaper article, like an interview with an expert type of thing. And if you were to take that route, you would write what you think they would say, and then you would also cite it from the actual article. So you could say, me, Dr. So-and-so, what do you think about social media's impact on communication? And then you have your guest respond and say, I think that it influences it in XYZ ways. And then you would put your little citation in parentheses to show that you did get that from a reputable source. So essentially, it's not really a research writing assignment, even though you're using sources that you already wrote, you're using material you already wrote. You have a lot of freedom with how creative you want it to be. You could do a magazine article talking about teenagers' experiences with technology and why you decided to do the workshop and where it was going to hypothetically be held. Or you could take that different approach, pick an expert, conduct sort of like a hypothetical interview with them. If you have another idea too for a different genre that I haven't mentioned, just shoot me an email and it's probably going to be fine. I've also accepted brief nonfiction for this project before. If you have an autobiographical connection to your project and you think that you could write a little nonfiction magazine article about it, that would probably be more than okay as well. So it's really up to you as for what type of genre you want to do. And then you're just taking a stab at writing in this kind of new form, a little bit looser, a little more creative, to research what a newspaper article or podcast script looks like. That is on you to do some of that work independently. If you don't already know, I would recommend just finding, newspaper articles in reputable newspapers and seeing what the authors are doing there, kind of using their form as template. Podcast script or interview script, a little bit looser there. If something's going to be on air, it doesn't need to look as publishable, but I need to be able to know, who is speaking when, who your guest is. So maybe a brief introduction stating, hey, this is my guest, so-and-so from XYZ University. Here's their research. And then jump into the interview. So those are probably the primary genres that I'm thinking people will choose from for this project. And that's really all you have to do for that main part of the project. The other little part is on the rubric, and the rubric is overstating it a little bit. I'm not looking for quite as much of an in-depth reflection as the rubric is suggesting, mostly because this has been a really unusual semester, and I'm sure if you start reflecting on your process as a writer, you'll feel that it was a little bit disrupted by the online switch. But there is supposed to be a brief reflection section attached to this final project. So for that, I'm looking for 1 to 3 paragraphs. Most of you will probably be landing at 2 or 1 long paragraph, talking about your process. So kind of reflecting on where you were when the class started, maybe what your previous experiences with research writing had been, what stuck out to you as we moved along the semester. You can talk about the annotated bibliography. You can talk about choosing a topic, using scholarly databases, our library day. You can talk about the group work if you want. I know it was frustrating. You can vent about it a little bit if you'd like. So that's essentially all that reflection section is. It's just kind of a process look back at how you reacted to the trajectory of the course. I always really like reading those. It's just a nice way to wrap up the semester and get a sense of kind of what every individual's overarching experience was as we moved through the different assignments. So that should cover pretty much the great majority of this last assignment. I just want you to be aware that even though it's a much less strenuous assignment than the last ones, it's still a requirement to pass the class, so I want to make sure everyone gets it in, especially because it doesn't have to be as thorough as the other projects, which is a good thing. Let's see what else. I did receive group projects last week, so you'll be getting the grades for those probably at next week at some point in time. I can't make any exact promises on that, but my goal is to get it in before you turn in your final for this class. So after you get that final assignment submitted, and that's next week, Friday, May 8th at midnight, you will be technically done for this course. So then you can just sit tight, wait for your grades to come in, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. And I think that's about it. As always, check in if anything else occurs to you, and we can chat about it. Alright,